Welcome, everybody, to the Four Wide Podcast. It's your boy Cole here, the main moderator of the group of delinquent quattros that we have here. And we're missing one today, but we actually gained one, so we're actually equal. You know, it nets out being the same. Kent's son is sick, so he's taking care of it like a real dad does. And he might join a little bit later, but we haven't heard anything from him. We got Blake above us, who's wearing a Christmas shirt.
Hey, love Christmas. It's as merry as it gets right now.
You want to display it for us?
No, I don't. Not really.
It's like the most mother T-shirt I've ever seen.
I've gained too much weight to want to display anything lower than my neck.
Look at this boy's neck fat.
Yeah,
man. If you were Chinese, you'd be a fortune teller. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god. Well, with that joke, of course, you know that we got the Austin with us today.
The one and only.
Yeah,
I wasn't even supposed to be here today, but here I am.
He was supposed to have his tooth yoinked out of his mouth, but they moved it till Friday. So good for you guys or bad for you guys, depending on what your viewpoint of Austin is. You know, I'd much rather have Austin than Blake. So there's that.
Wow.
Dadgum.
Dang. I don't want to be on here anyway. No, I'm just kidding.
Especially when he's shaved and he looks like a little baby.
Dude, I totally messed up shaving this week. I look like I started on my right side and just cut everything off on accident. And I started to look like there was no coming back. I started looking like one of those 1800s presidents. And
muffin chops?
Like Martin Van Buren vibes or something. And it just, I'm like, no, it ain't. It's not redeemable at all.
Well, yeah, I'm interested to see it because your chins have chins. Like, this is crazy.
They've multiplied.
Oh man, it's married life's treating me good, boys.
Yeah, I can tell.
I know.
Just a slight recommendation for you: next time you're shaving, start from the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah.
Yep. Just throwing that out there for you.
Yeah, it's a good. Wouldn't mind me sponsored by some good razors, that's for sure.
You don't need no razor.
Maybe it's
a beer product now.
Use your error.
Goodness. And we got a special guest from Ecuador today. We have Mr. Brett.
Hello.
He is going to be on the pod today, our guest analyst for essentially recapping COTA. And then we're actually going to talk about Phoenix, of course. But Brett, if you just want to discuss, a little bit how you got into NASCAR, your favorite drivers, and anything else you'd like to include.
So, I'm Brett. I'm 23 years old. I'm from the United States. Just recently moved to Ecuador 2 years ago. And I got into NASCAR at about probably age 7. So I was a huge Tony Stewart fan way back in the day when he drove the number 20 Home Depot car. And I would find, what's funny is anytime we'd go to Home Depot, they would have pictures of Tony, so I would assume lawnmowers with Home Depot, which means Tony, and then anytime we'd go to Lowe's, I'd throw a hissy fit about it because, Jimmy Johnson drove the number 48 Lowe's home improvement card, and I'd be like, why can't we just go to Home Depot and buy this so I can, show off my driver, and we even... In my bedroom in our old house, went to Home Depot. We asked for the color of Home Depot, orange, and my mom literally painted my whole entire room on my wall Home Depot orange. And then to make a little joke, we put a little bit of Lowe's Home Improvement blue in there just so that nobody knew that it was not anything else. And then probably my current favorite driver will be Austin Dillon. So let's go.
Nice.
Goat status.
We love a good children's driver, don't we, Austin?
And then Austin has helped me become a Joey Logano fan. So back in the day, I used to, when Tony quit driving for Joe Gibbs, I was about 8 at the time. I didn't understand what was going on. Anytime Logano would get put in the wall, crash or something, I'd be on the couch I'd be there clapping, celebrating, having a festival time, and then
that's what Kent does now.
But so another cool thing that I would probably like to share is, so I in my old neighborhood I used to live in, I actually worked for Austin and Ty Dillon's mom and dad. So I watched their parents' dog, and then I also watched Austin Dillon's French Bulldog. And with his mom's help, I got some swag signed by Austin. So it's officially
Nice.
Nice.
the OG Huggy.
The Cheerios car, man. Back in
Yeah.
the
The
day.
Cheerios car. And
Is
then
that-
I got
Is that 2013 or 2014?
I think it was both years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think both.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think they changed the scheme.
I got you.
2014. And then I got his playoffs hat signed.
Nice.
And then I also got this was one of the hats he wore during the duel.
Nice.
That's cool.
Is that the
signed.
dual
And-
E1?
Yes.
I have
And
the
I have the
diecast for
diecast
that.
in my closet.
Yeah,
We were there
We were
for that
there.
one, Cole.
yeah, we were.
And then I also have his 2018 Daytona 500 car, but it's in my closet, unfortunately.
Nice.
And then this one was the one when he won Daytona in the one that rained out real bad. This is from Victory Lane.
Nice.
Sweet.
So they got this for me. My sister got a different hat. So
That's sick.
I don't have any Ty Dillon swag, unfortunately, but it's not.
Austin's a great guy, honestly.
he is. He
I've
really
met
is.
him a couple times.
He's great around the fans too.
Yeah, he's a really great guy. I've met him. Not great at road courses, but he's slowly improving.
Yeah, those gravel on the tires kind of hurt last week. So.
Yes, yeah, it was hard to watch a little bit, and then his wife is very nice. She's very pretty, so nice to meet her and work for his family. They were always very, very good people to me, and I really appreciate their business. And I always had fun talking about stuff. And I actually was talking to his dad, Mike Dillon, about saying jokes about Kyle Busch needs to come race for RCR, and a few years later.
Here we
There
are.
it
it
is.
is.
Here we go.
Hey,
So I say it came to me first that I brought in that little bit of, we need Kyle.
that's what we like to hear.
But that's
Old
pretty much about
wash
it.
Kyle, according to Austin.
Oh,
Old wash Kyle.
Gosh, get off my.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll get to it.
Washed.
Wash.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty much about it for me.
I hear you. So, we'll talk about COTA, but of course, as always, just follow the socials at 4Wide, the letter 4, not the number 4, wide. We're on Instagram and X, and we might join Facebook at this point. I'm still debating at this point. I'm just,
Got to deal with the boomers.
well, see, that's my thing is they'll just hate us.
Yeah.
Reach out to the Facebook moms.
That's right, boy.
That'll
That
go
might,
well.
that might have come across different than what I meant, but you get what I'm talking about.
He's married. He's married,
You-
guys.
You can stop digging. Like, just
Yeah,
put the shovel
nah, I
down.
got Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to be clipping this and send it to Hope. Oh, boy. All right, so we will start with the Xfinity Series race. P1, the guy that you would expect to win it, but not the way that you expected him to win it. Connor Zilisch won that
Yep.
race.
He got a little inspiration from Hocevar.
Yeah, he did.
Well, Hocevar got some inspiration when he hit the tire barrier on lap 3, that 14 car. P2, you had William Byron. P3, you had Sam Mayer, my pick for this week, which, he's been really good at road courses here lately, so.
Yeah,
It
for
is.
real.
And especially with changing cars and stuff, he went from JRM, which is high top equipment, to Haas factory racing now, and seems to be doing pretty well for him. So I'm really
Mhm.
excited to see what he'll do, even though he's not necessarily somebody that I pull for week to week.
Mm-hmm.
P5, you had Christian Eckes with the most beaten up in the first 10 laps car I've ever seen at a road course race. This
Yep.
car was terrible, and it just got progressively worse. P7, we had Taylor Gray. Finally got him a top 10 finish this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's been cursed. He's just been cursed in general in regards to NASCAR. Ross Chastain, P8, he came back from a speeding penalty on pit road, got sent all the way back to the back, and was able to come all the way back.
I missed that. I didn't know he had a speeding penalty.
Yep.
Yeah, I
he
didn't
got
either.
he got a speeding penalty, I think, on the green flag stops, and essentially sent him back, and he had to drive all the way back up.
That'll do it.
So that's the reason that I picked him this week on our Cup Series, is I seen him drive all the way up the field, and I was like, and then boom, he pulls the Chastain on lap 1. And then probably the coolest story with the Xfinity Series P10, Blaine Perkins, I believe, number 31 for Jordan Anderson Racing, got a top 10.
Wow.
That was a really cool story for him. And, I mean, Jordan Anderson Racing in general, they've been really strong starting out this year with them and Jeb. So it'd be very interesting to see what the future holds for us in regards to them. But, I mean, the show was the young guns of JRM with Zilisch and Quapple.
Yeah.
And, of course, Quapple didn't finish in a very good finishing position. I think he ended up finishing 23rd. He won the Xfinity fastest lap, so that shows the speed. I was quite impressed with Quapple's prowess on the road course. What was y'all's guys' opinion on how well Quapple raced?
So I wasn't able to watch the race. I did go back and see some highlights, though, but
You're fired.
I know, man. Sorry.
Brett, you've been promoted.
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was doing, but I do remember wishing that the CW app would work on the day of.
It sucks, man. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah, it does. It's about as bad as Peacock.
Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was doing. I was working, but yeah. But I tried to take a look at it. I was like, nah, this ain't happening. But wasn't on my bingo card at all to see Carson Quaffle do well at a road course this year. Not to like diss on him, just he's really new to the series. He's really well known for local short tracks, especially like in the Cars Tour, doing really well for Junior Motorsports down there.
Mhm.
Just didn't know what it would be like, and he does absolutely much more than what I think anybody ever expected. So hey, kudos to him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, kind of piggybacking off what Blake said, I mean, this guy is usually running on quarter-mile tracks, for most of his time in the car store. And then the first ever road course that he runs in Xfinity is one of the toughest that is on the schedule, and that's COTA.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so demanding. And to not only, qualify well, he qualified 5th and led laps. He was up front. He was a contender for a good portion of the race until the very end. But, yeah, I was really surprised and impressed by what he did.
What about you, Brett? What was your opinion on Quapple's performance?
I really was surprised. I watched the race, and I mean, I don't root for him on a regular basis, but I try to. He really surprised me by how well he did, because COTA is not an easy track. It's very physical. It's very demanding, and he just surprised me. And I know it's not at the same layout as last year, but for a new layout too to do that well is very surprising. I think hopefully she get another chance next year or something.
Well, I think it's also one of those things where it's usually a challenge in general, COTA, but even where they shortened the track, it was really testing the tire conservation, because it turned into a big ordeal, especially it was displayed by Austin Hill's tires being absolutely blistered that they showed on the broadcast, which chef's kiss to CW. They did an excellent job in regards to the broadcast when you could watch it on TV, not on the app.
Yeah. I watched it on TV. It's much better. I wish NASCAR Cup Series could just use that.
Yeah, which I mean, with the CW app, I think the only thing that was available was like the in-car camera for like 2 or 3 drivers.
Yeah.
And then you had the battle cam, which is essentially just like the helicopter blimp that's over the racetrack and just no audio.
Well, especially for COTA, how big that place is, it's like,
Yeah.
So it's kind of the equivalent of like having a driver driving COTA without a spotter. That's what it feels like to not have any announcers watching them run around. I mean,
yeah.
Which we would talk about the Fox broadcast, because there was a noticeable, just huge hiccup towards the end of that. I think everybody knows what we're going to talk about when we get to it.
Fox had a hiccup?
Whoa.
Say it ain't so.
Austin's like, which one?
Sleep.
So I guess the next biggest storyline is the guy that won the race made one of the biggest mistakes of the race, just like he did at Watkins Glen. He did the exact same thing last year, came from the back and won it. Now, the penalty was different. He went through the area that you weren't supposed to during Watkins Glen. He followed 2 other drivers, and they got all penalized and had to drive all the way back to the front of the field to win. This one was a little bit more not black and white, because it was very hard to really tell when you're already on pit road like that and that light's there and it's kind of in that blind spot. I could kind of see how someone could miss that, but it's also the duty of your team to be like, hey, you might not want to come down pit road. Anyways,
Pull off, pull off, pull off, pull off. Like, you
Well-
think somebody would be yelling in his ear, like, don't commit.
but the funny thing is, it didn't matter because he ended up driving all the way up and winning the race. I mean, tire rub and all. I mean, ridiculous. Just an amazing driver at those road course races and really just showed his prowess. I'm going to throw it to the road course expert, regional road course expert that we had this week with Brett. But what do you think about Zilich's drive all the way up to the front?
I was honestly really surprised once I saw that penalty. I was like, oh, he's got to be done, because going through COTA, that pit lane is so long. I actually drove the track on my simulator, and it's such a difficult track, and then penalties are so they're just out of control. But that pit lane is so long. It took me probably good get tires, fuel, and a couple of repairs done. It took me a good maybe minute or two, and then to get down the pit lane, it took even longer. And my speed limit's only 37. I don't remember what it was in the Xfinity race, but was really surprised on how well he did, and I think he should get another opportunity for more road course races in the future.
Sounds like you got you a Larson pit stop with that 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah.
honestly.
Yeah, one of the guys dropped a wheel nut, so he's fired.
Yeah, well, all right, Austin, what you got to say with old Zilich?
He's a kid.
18 years old.
He's 18 years old.
I have 2 siblings his age.
18 years old. And we were talking last week about how this was a stacked lineup. I mean, we have Byron, you got Hocevar, you got Chastain, Cup guys that have cut their teeth, and they are awesome. And then this kid just comes in here and kicks butt, made the veterans look foolish. It was like watching Kyle Busch in the Atlanta race last week. Watching just how he kicked everyone's tail in that truck race. He looked like a vet the way he was racing out there. I mean, granted, he made some mistakes and he was aggressive. His youth showed, but man, to have the poise to do what he did was impressive.
What about you, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, Zilich is, I think you saw it at Watkins Glen last year, right? Like, all right, this kid can drive. And it's cool to see it once, but to see it twice is, like, all right, he's starting to separate himself from, it's like the men and the boys are separated already. Like, this guy he's got an awesome career ahead of him. I mean, I think Kyle Busch even, tweeted, he said, it's all right, kid, like, your future's bright. I finished last in my first debut, too. And I just can't wait to see what his career is going to take. It's going to be fun.
How long is he with Junior Motorsports? Is he just running part-time this year on the road courses?
No, he's full-time.
He's full-time this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. He drove at Daytona the last
That's
few
right. That's right.
In Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's right. So he's probably locked up with JRM for probably at least 2-3 years.
Till Suarez loses his ride.
I was about to say, unless they kick the 99 out.
I mean, that seems to be the natural progression with this, because I don't see them just keeping this 3-team car deal open like this. They're, especially with Pitbull being gone, I can imagine Suarez has kind of got the foot out the door, essentially, if he doesn't pick it up here in the next year. I mean, honestly.
Year.
I mean, people will be like, well, he won at Atlanta. It's like, yeah, but it was a 3-wide finish. Yes, he won, but he won by thousandths of a second.
Well, and also, and I hate to ever discredit a win, right? But if somebody behind him doesn't push just at the right time, I mean, Blaney or Bush is winning that race, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate to be that way, but he's won a road course, won a super speedway, whatever you want to call Atlanta, drafting track, whatever. But I think a typical oval, he needs to win.
Closest he came was at Coke 600 a couple of years ago. That's the closest he's come to winning an oval. I mean, and then what did he wreck, or did his car fail on him? I can't remember. Something happened that just screwed up his day. I can't remember.
I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. I wasn't at that race.
The Coke 600s have run together with all the rain lately.
I know.
Yeah. I'll be honest, like even last year's race, I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in the race outside the rain and the Larson controversy. I don't remember a thing.
I remember Bell passing for the lead.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
about it.
yeah, but outside of
Yeah,
those
that's
three
about it.
things, I don't remember a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, in regards to that, Zilisch still has to show a little bit more proudness on these oval tracks. I mean, he's been doing okay,
For
but
sure.
he's not.
Yep.
But I mean, you could also say, I mean, SVG's running a full-time Cup schedule this year, just based upon how great of a driver he is. With the road course races, of course, he's got more of that resume, more of a veteran resume to go along with it. But, I mean, honestly, you look at Zilisch, the person that comes to mind when I see Zilisch, I think of Byron. I mean, in all honesty, JRM guy comes up and just shocks the world pretty much. I mean, like, we didn't hear much about Connor Zilisch. You know, we've heard about people in the Cars Tour and stuff, but we haven't heard anything about Zilisch till he showed up at Watkins Glen and just spanked everybody's butts.
Well, I mean, Zilisch. I'm looking at Racing Reference. He had Byron gapped by over a second and a half.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and even his time in the Cup race on Sunday, I mean, he's one of the top 5 fastest cars when it comes to speed. I hate that his finishing position doesn't really show the talent that he had, but that boy was hauling.
Yeah, we'll talk about it
Yeah.
when we get to the Cup. But, I mean, I just mesmerized, honestly, is the word that comes to mind when I see Zilisch and just the moves that he was making. And he had that gap with a tire rub on the front. And the only person that could compete with him was his teammate, Quapple. That's the only cars in the same zip code.
Yeah.
And if Quapple didn't have that, just absolutely used up his car, I mean, it might have been a pretty good finish, but I'm telling you what, if you were a JRM fan and you're watching those two boys going at it, I bet you Dale Jr. was sweating.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were getting close to taking themselves out and letting the third place car just scoot on by. So,
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's road course races for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this majority of the Xfinity highlights, like I said, Chastain had a pretty good recovery in regards to that speeding penalty. Ended up 8th, which, I mean, it's not as good as Zilisch, obviously, but he was also in a JRM car, so that just kind of also puts that into context for you. And I did like to see Christian Eckes get that top 5 and grinding that out in that beat-up car. I mean, that was really cool to see, in my honest opinion.
I kind of wanted Eckes to win just to see the diecast that would be made for that, because his car looked like it had been to hell and back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wanted him to win as well, just to see it.
Which I think that if it had enough momentum, they could probably do a checkers or wreckers of that car.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It would just be if he had enough name notoriety to be able to go along with it. Because it has to meet a modern order or a minimum order of like 500 and something, I think is the minimum that you can make for a specific diecast. And if you can't order that many, then it doesn't get made.
Yeah.
So like someone like Noah G with his Wilkesboro diecast that where he won the fan vote and he got wrecked in the open or whatnot, that was able to be made. Same thing with Junior and Elliott when Denny Hamlin put Elliott in the wall way back in history, it seems like for us.
I know Blake sat with flying that day.
Man, that was an eventful day. One of the best days of my life, and then Martinsville 2017.
But now he's a Denny Hamlin lover. That's one of his top 10 favorite drivers in the Cup Series.
I think he is number 11 on my favorite list right now.
I see what you did there.
Quit when you're hit. All right. So
I had to say it. I don't like Hamlin at all. I'm sorry.
Dude, you're not hurting my feelings.
you're not alone with that. I think there's a lot of people that don't like Hamlin.
I mean, off the track, he's a great guy, but on the track, I absolutely hate him.
Oh, that's fair. You could say something about Logano. Logano's the same way. On the track, he's a butthead, but like off the track, fantastic guy.
I was about to say, you might can make the same case for Austin Dillon.
Oh,
I think
boy.
so. I think so.
Oh, boy. Well, we know what Austin Dillon, Denny Hamlin, and Joe Logano all have in common. They were all thinking they're going to win on turn 4 of that Richmond race.
Yep. And then my boy pulled through.
Oh, boy. All right, guys. So let's talk about Cup. P1, We got back-to-back. Christopher Bell.
Mhm.
Back-to-back Bells.
Mhm.
I think was the caption that NASCAR put out. That was, I mean, I'll tell you what, Kent should just have picked him. I don't know why Kent didn't pick him.
I don't
He said
know.
he said he was gonna pick him, and then he picked Larson. We'll get to it, but poor Kent, man. P2, same place that he finished in the Xfinity Series. You had William
Mhm.
Byron. Honestly, guys, he might be the road course guy for Hendrick at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been really, really good. Now, he hasn't necessarily got the amount of wins that Elliott has. None of those wins was in the next gen except for one.
And he likes
Right.
he likes to go flying at Watkins Glen too. So
Yeah.
he probably should stop
Yeah.
doing that.
Nah, I mean,
Probably.
I will say Hendrick has done a fantastic job in this next gen era.
Mhm.
It's wild. Chase Elliott's actually the only Hendrick driver without a road course win in the next gen era.
Wow.
And I mean, Alex Bowman's done really good. I mean, any of them you could really pick, and you'd be making a good pick for a road weekend.
So it was really good. You had Tyler Reddick, P3. I mean, expected him to be up there. I
Mhm.
mean, very much so. He's been one of those good guys on the road course, especially for Toyota.
Yeah.
He's pretty much been leading the charge for them.
Mhm.
P4, you had Elliott, made a pretty decent recovery after being chastained.
Yeah.
And
Ross is back to his old ways, boys.
Ross is back, boy.
I love it.
Yeah. I do too.
Well, then you had Kent sent us a video where they were coming to that last corner and Chase was behind Chastain, and Chastain just let off the gas and let Chase go by. So I don't know if that was like, hey, man, I'm sorry I screwed up. Here's my position. Or like, hey, don't wreck me kind of deal thing.
Hey, they talk about what killed the dinosaurs. It was Chastain.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, look, we can give Chastain all that, but talk about Chris Wright at Daytona heading in pit road. Chris Wright's like Chastain on steroids right now. I mean,
Good. Just
golly.
I think he forgot where that brake pedal was. I think he thought he just had a gas and a clutch.
He's like, I'm going to send it, boys.
that's all you need in NASCAR, gas and clutch.
I'm going to do it for Dale.
That's right.
Remember when Chase missed that period of time because he had that skiing accident?
Yeah.
There's a meme I saw. It had a picture of Chase like in his ski gear. He's all decked out, got his skis. In the background, you just see the little white or number one Busch car.
Going over the top of the hill. Boy. You got old wash Kyle Busch.
All right, shut up.
Um,
Cole, shut up.
Led most of the laps, led 42 laps of the COTA race. Really good performance by him. It was a really good showing for RCR in general.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon didn't have quite as good of a race as him, but I mean, he did get in a late race caution. So, but it was good to see Busch up and leading. And in all honesty, if that caution didn't come out, I could foresee him possibly winning that race.
I could
Because
too.
Yeah.
he wouldn't have to burn up his equipment like he did
Yeah.
on that restart. So that was good.
Yeah.
P6, you had the road course ringer. You would think SVG. Not sure what happened to him. He
Yeah, I
started.
don't know.
He started with new tires. Now I know his restart wasn't that great, but
That's what killed him. It was
He
his
ended up-
restart.
he ended up at like 13th after that first lap.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, where in the world did he go?
Well, what happened is he didn't get a good. Well, he struggled with his restarts all day, but he didn't get a good restart, and then he kind of got shuffled back into that crap going in turn one, and I saw him. He kept getting banged and beaten around, and I think that really killed any chance he had of winning the race.
Yeah, I think so too.
So P7, you got Chris Buescher, another fantastic road course racer here of late. Everybody remembers him stealing that race from SVG last year. Probably the road course race of the year last year. That's the one that comes to mind for me. P8, you got Noah G getting that top 10 for Haas Factory. Great performance by him.
Yeah, definitely.
He was nowhere
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
all day.
Yeah. Noah G's for front row. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good.
I was thinking about Mayer for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're good, bro.
He had a 2024 Cole. Gosh.
That's right. Come on, man. What are you doing?
Boomer.
doing?
Come on, man.
Come on, Boomer.
Oh, boy. I mean, it doesn't help that they literally kept the 4 font that looked like it covered Stuart Haas.
That
I
is
agree.
true. That is
Yeah.
true.
I think they
So-
should have retired that number after that.
Yeah, or change the font at least. Make it a little bit different.
Yeah.
It looks too much like Harvick's.
Yeah.
It really does. And he's nowhere near there.
Yeah, P9 had Bowman. I will get to that later. P10, we have Todd Gillen, another front row guy showing up. Michael McDowell did pretty good in those front row road course races, so it really doesn't surprise me that him and Noah ended up in the top 10.
Good finishes, back-to-back weeks for Michael McDowell, considering, I mean, last week he was 7 laps down and came back and finished pretty good, and then getting just outside the top 10 for a road course. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that is.
Thank the Lord for cautions, right?
Yeah.
For Michael McDowell. P25, we have Austin Cindric. I put that down for a reason. Most time we don't talk about those people. It's in the back. But we'll get to it, Blake. I see it. I see you stewing on it. But not a good performance by any of the Penske cars, but especially not for Austin Cindric, known to be a really good road course racer.
Yeah, not at all for him.
And then another guy that you would expect to be up front that wasn't was Kyle Larson, P32. And we will also talk about that nice.
He just got cursed because he can't pick them. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
He's got the Kent curse.
He'll win at Phoenix this week.
Yeah.
All right, Blake. I don't have this written on my notes, but I knew we'd get to it, so go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Look, by standard, Austin Cindric should be suspended.
Yes, under the last years in regards to that, yes. But the problem is, if you suspend somebody, they cancel all the points. There will not be a waiver claim where they can carry any points that they've gained. So he would have to start at 2,000, and I don't see NASCAR doing that. I think what they'll end up doing is just doing what they did to Briscoe and just absolutely freaking 1 points.
Well, I mean, I get it, but you look at what happened with Chase and Denny at the Coke 600 in 2023. You look at what happened with Bubba Wallace and Larson. I don't even know if Hocevar even got suspended for all his right hooks he did back in the Truck Series, but there's been a clear...
He did for one.
I got you. I mean, there's a clear precedent. If you right hook somebody, you get suspended. So I'm like, and really, this right hook did affect other drivers also. And now I do get that, like, on a road course, you've got a lot more space, and it might not be as detrimental as putting somebody right into the wall, but, like, they haven't said the precedent is when the wall's like right there, the precedent's been on the right hook. So usually by Tuesdays, which we're recording on a Tuesday night, they make the announcement of a suspension. So
I think they're delaying it a little bit
tomorrow,
from what I understood.
Tomorrow's the penalty.
Okay. But I mean, somebody else should be driving the 2 car in Phoenix this weekend, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
They'll appeal and he'll get the drive, but I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, but, like, what are they going to appeal? I'm not arguing with you specifically. I'm just saying, like, in general.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to appeal?
Yeah. The throttle stuck.
Yeah.
That's what Chase's excuse was.
That's what Christopher Bell's
The
excuse
steering wheel
was.
stuck. The
Yeah.
wheel just stuck.
You know, it's just, something happens. You just can't drive these things. It's like, you're going straight on a road course, idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Based upon the past precedents and stuff, but then you also had Bubba getting into Bowman on the victory lap with harnesses off, and they did not suspend Bubba for that.
They gave him a penalty. But
They gave him a penalty.
You're all right. They didn't give him a suspension, but
And all those suspensions happened before this new waiver rule, and I think that's what's really complicating on NASCAR's standpoint, because do you really want to piss off, Penske, who's won the last 2 championships? I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, you look at Richmond last year as well. Like, with Denny,
Blatant.
it was pretty clear that Dillon turned Denny going for the win.
Yeah.
Granted, Dillon had the playoff lock was removed, but he still got to keep the win and still got to keep the purse from the winnings. But he did get suspended.
And wasn't suspended yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, what is the criteria for actually getting suspended?
Killing someone.
Well,
I mean,
it goes. Yeah, I mean, there's really no need to go into the consistency.
Inconsistency.
Yeah.
I
mean, no reason to go down that again, but gosh, it's just like, they put all these rules of, we're going to make sure you don't have any playoff points to deter you from right hooking. And we're 3 weeks into the season and we've got a right hook already. So so to me, I'm like, if this is really what you're going to try to do to deter drivers, you've got to set the tone early.
So
I agree.
The last suspension in NASCAR for an on-race incident was the playoff race in Vegas for Bubba wrecked Larson coming through the tri-oval. That was the last. That was the last suspension, and that was a deserved suspension.
No, for sure.
Yes, it was.
I lost all respect for Bubba after that race because that was
I did too.
ridiculous. So it depends on if NASCAR sees that, if that's the standard, is what happened with Cindric as bad as what Bubba did to Larson. That's the standard.
And then you kind of get into like comparing apples to oranges and stuff like that.
Because it's a mile and a half track going 185 miles an hour, as opposed to a road course race, but you take out multiple cars. I don't think they'll suspend him.
I don't think so either.
I think he'll get a hefty fine and
big points.
Big points. Yeah, big points. Yeah. He's going to have to win to get into the playoffs, kind of deal. But I don't see them suspending him.
Well, I think if you don't, you're going to have a bunch of shenanigans go on the whole year. And it be just enough to where it's like, but it's nothing near as what happened with Bubba and Larson. And it's just going to be a whole cluster.
I don't disagree at all.
I don't either.
I hope for the sake, just for NASCAR's sake, they'll suspend them because they have had such a great start to this season. Bowman Gray, awesome. Daytona, 3 wide the whole race, awesome. Atlanta, nothing bad to say about the race. COTA, fantastic road course race. So just for the sake of not having to go down these petty rabbit holes, suspend the dude, set the tone, go on with your day.
I agree.
We'll move on from that, but I seen Blake stewing on it. I know that was one of the first things he sent in the group chat during the race, and I was like, it's a good discussion point, and we'll know tomorrow.
Yeah.
We will know tomorrow. So, it's quite nice to see a race actually finish under green flag conditions.
Amen.
In all honesty, it was great. And I wish that first caution or that last caution wouldn't have come out before. I think it would have been really cool to see Busch defend with, better tires essentially at that point, not using them up. But it was also nice to see Bale kind of maneuver his way and try to beat that veteran proudness of Kyle Busch that we talked about, at Atlanta. So
it was beautiful, clean racing.
It was.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask y'all boys a question. Is this the best road course race of the next gen era? Is this the best road course race?
See, I hate answering these types of questions because I got to sit back here and think about all of this. Because,
granted, the bar's low.
Yeah,
I would say no.
Okay.
The Watkins Glen race last year was really good.
I would say ones that contend close are Watkins Glen. Last year was really good.
Yeah.
And Chicago Street Race 2023 was really good as well.
Yeah.
I would say just for entertainment purpose, those two I would probably put over, but it's the best race we've had at COTA.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, the reason I ask, I think that personally, I think it was the best road course of the next gen era. But that goes back to I love seeing tire fall off, and I love seeing that unpredictability in the race, right? But I was just curious what y'all thought because I thought it was the best.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the good old tire fall off and stuff.
Oh, I know.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But, which I think I kind of goes into the next point is track position, man. Me and Austin really thought going into this race, because we talked back and forth, we thought track position was going to be absolutely killer. If you started outside of the top 10, you're going to be screwed for the day. And it was not like that at all.
No.
It was completely the opposite. In the Xfinity race, you had Zilisch drive all the way up from the back to the front, and then you had Elliott and Bowman essentially do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Noah, who was nowhere to be seen. I mean, drive all the way up. I can't even remember where Bowman started. He started way back, I think.
I got it.
It was like 18th or 17th. Yeah. Started in the back and drove his way up in the first stage. And like I said, we'll get to that. I'm very much heated in regards to how the media handled everything.
Yeah.
But
hey, one thing on that, I just want to say thank you to Goodyear for bringing some really good tires that are conducive to great racing. Because for years and years, I know that fans, the teams, everybody was tough on them. I mean, you remember back in the day, Tony Stewart was just railing on them. I mean, and I think they got scarred from that a little bit, in all honesty, because they said that, they think that their marketing would do well if they put a tire that would last 5,000 miles. And I'm glad that they have gone away from that and realized we have got to help this car with the tires. And you see what a big difference the tires can make, because you look at last year's race versus this year's race. The only thing that's different is the tires. Well, I mean, on the track, right? Yeah.
you mean literally on the track?
Yeah.
The track changed too.
I'm talking about with the car. I'm sorry. Let me clarify. Yeah. Let me clarify. Car-wise, the only thing that changed. Yeah. The only thing that changed was the tires. Now,
good job.
Cody,
Everybody give a round of applause for Blake. Everybody, that's good.
Yeah. Hey, and NASCAR, Speedway Motorsport, they did a good job with the track layout too. But I just want to say, just from a fan's perspective, thank you to Goodyear for bringing some fall off and keep getting more aggressive, because y'all are doing a great job.
Yep.
Well, I think what was interesting, and me and Cole talked about this, was how when you looked at the lap times and the speed from practice, and then you looked at qualifying, there's nothing that you can really parallel. Like, for example, SVG was fastest in both practices, in both speed and lap time. The second practice, his lap time was 1 minute 38 seconds, and it was a half a second faster than P2, which was William Byron. But then SVG, he doesn't even come close to pole. He starts in the top, like P6, P5, P6, somewhere in there. The winner was Christopher Bell, who in practice was P21. He was a second and a half off pace. He also qualified a little over a second off of pole pace and started P14. I don't know if he was sandbagging. I don't know if they just had to tweak it right or what. But that's something that me and Cole noticed right away, was the lap times in practice and the timing and speed and qualifying made no sense. And I think that translated to the race, because we're seeing half the top 10 started outside of P15. That's just insane.
Well, and what's crazy too is when there's that much of a gap, I almost get a little bit nervous as a fan, right? Because it's like, all right, well, if there's that much of a gap, the teams are going to figure out by Sunday, and it's not going to be, that gap's going to be really minimal. I mean, it goes back to the tires, right? I mean, it was just who could save your tires, who could manage it, and you saw some good guys do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically these tires. I mean, you can say about the short tracks, so the tires that save the short tracks. It's kind of sad though that you're having to rely on tires to save a car. In my opinion,
it is.
And I mean, that's a true statement.
In all honesty, to say that tires are the biggest difference for these cars is, I mean, ask Rooster Petty, back in the day, and be like, you think tires mattered as much? Which I'm sure they did, because, I mean, older tires, newer tires back then, man, they were running on, some teams probably running on, tires that you see people riding on out here. They got their tire from the back, and they're driving 20,000 miles with a tire that's not supposed to be.
They probably use the same tires they use to get to the track.
Yeah.
Take them off the truck and put them on the car. Boy. But no, it was the horsepower and what they could do, the playability with it. But with this new car, there's no way to play with, all these different variations of things. And then you got drivers literally putting lead in their where they keep their water bottles to be able to weight down the car. That's what happened to 2 drivers this year, I do believe. I seen a video come out. I forgot which drivers it was, but I mean, teams are trying anything at this point because they know if they were anything on outside the car, there's no play with anything. And I mean that's shown through Briscoe's penalty with the spoiler. I mean, 100 points is.
Is he even at 0 yet?
Well, his appeal is tomorrow.
Okay.
So
we'll
find out if his penalty sticks or not tomorrow.
Which, I mean, I would say would have to.
Yeah, I would too.
If they weren't able to clear Kligerman, there ain't no way in heck Briscoe's going to be cleared.
He's still at minus 28, assuming it stands. He's still at minus 28.
I mean, with the appeal, they may change the severity of it. I mean, maybe they'll make it 100, but maybe knock it down a bit. But even then, NASCAR, they're pretty rigid when it comes to appeals. So I don't see it changing.
I say, what's the last time you heard anybody win an appeal in NASCAR? Nobody.
Can't tell you.
It's like essentially people settling outside of court. I feel like that's what NASCAR does half the time. To be honest with you. I mean, my second point, I gotta say it, man. I gotta reiterate it. Kyle Busch most definitely did not look terrible at all. He looked very much like what I would expect Kyle Busch to look like.
Yeah.
So
same here.
That was really good to see. And it was nice because that means one of our hot takes, our spicy takes, was actually right last week. Kent was right with his spicy take. He said that Kyle Busch would show that he is not washed. And therefore, he showed that he was not washed. Except for the last 6 laps.
Coming from a Kyle Busch fan, I was really happy to see him do well. I was really hoping he'd get the win. But
were you surprised that he pulled that at COTA, of all places?
I was honestly really surprised. I never really considered Kyle a great road course racer. I know when he ran the Rolex 24 back in the few years ago, he absolutely hated it. He said never good at road courses, and I know that's a different car and stuff, but when he was doing so well at COTA, I was honestly shocked. I was like, my goodness, maybe he's finally, maybe something's switched or something, and we've seen a new Kyle Busch. And I loved, like Cole said, the racing was so clean between him and Bell, and I know they had some controversy at that track, but the racing was really clean, and I'm proud of both of them. And yeah, I was really just shocked for him to do as well as he did.
I was also proud of Byron not to clear out Bell.
Yeah, same here.
Honestly.
Yes, it was great racing between the 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, you knew coming into the last corner, it's like, I think if I want to be anybody right now, I want to be Reddick. Because these 2 guys are about to get washed up the track. But, as a fan, I was kind of like, just give him a little bump a little bit. But looking back, I'm like, I'm glad he didn't, because it was so refreshing to see just a natural finish.
It was.
Yeah.
If anybody had a reason to make an aggressive move, it was Reddick. Because
that's true.
Exactly.
Bell's locked in, Byron's locked in at the playoffs. Reddick's the one that needs the spot. So, when you look at it, it doesn't make sense for Bell and Byron to make enemies of one another 3 races into the year.
For sure.
So
yeah.
Because that'll come back to bite you.
It will.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with Phoenix and Martinsville coming up this month.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Bristol. Well, Bristol's in April. Never mind.
Yeah,
Bristol tires, baby. Bristol tires.
God.
I see it.
Lord help us.
Oh, my goodness. But in regards to the alterations with the course, so we've talked about the tires and whatnot, but what do you guys think about the shortening of the back end of it and how that affected the racing? I kind of want to throw it to Brett first, since he is like, he's talked about how much he loves COTA and in regards to just road course racing in general. So what did you think?
I honestly thought it was good. Turn A, 6A, and 6B were definitely very exciting. Those were always, good passing opportunities, and driving those on the simulator just to get those correct were so hard to get, because you can carry so much speed in to pass, but then you got to, get it slowed back down for B to get onto the back straight. And I think it was just a good track all around. I mean, I wish it was a little bit longer, but that's just kind of how I am.
Sure.
I know you guys said on the podcast last week that maybe during cautions you run this short layout, but then during the full race you run the longer one. I know we don't get to see the cars as often, but in person, but I think that would maybe be a good idea.
I
Or
was
run it backwards.
Restore style.
That's right.
Yeah, run some down, run some up, see who can.
Put them in a figure 8.
Yeah,
Right. Run solid.
I was surprised. I mean, y'all heard me. I was a harsh critic of NASCAR's
Sure.
decision to eliminate, those turns, and
Mm-hmm.
I just did not think it was a good idea to have them exit the S's and then go left.
Mm-hmm.
But it worked. It really did work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more passing opportunities than I thought there would be. Mainly those, I mean, I think it forced them to be more aggressive because you don't have those straights and you have to put your nose into a corner to get positions that you need. So I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, granted, I had low expectations going into the race.
Very low for him. Yeah.
For me,
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, you all know me enough. I don't like NASCAR on road courses that much, but I was pleasantly surprised by what I saw Sunday. And it may have saved
Mhm.
COTA, honestly.
I think so.
Yeah. Well,
If people start buying tickets, that will be the big teller. It really will.
Well, I will say, I mean, talk about people buying tickets. I mean, my wife's nominal at best when it comes to being a fan of racing. But even after Sunday, she was like, if you wanted to plan a trip to go out there next year, I wouldn't mind. We might have some friends out there now, but show you how appealing that race was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's one issue I did see. I can't remember if it was Gluck or who. Somebody posted a video of it was after stage 2, and there were just herds of people leaving a section of the grandstands. Almost half the race left to go, and people are leaving early. I don't know if it's just casual fans or, rich people who got a good spot and they're like, okay, yeah, we're done, kind of pulling a Trump, leaving, before things get really good. I don't know what the reason is why they left early, but to me, that's not a great sign. Because if you're a NASCAR fan, you want those seats full till the checker flag flies.
Right.
And so I thought it was interesting that people were leaving the race so early.
Well, and you look at a place like Bowman Gray, I'm just here to tell you wasn't nobody leaving.
Mhm.
But it's hard to, you almost would think it might have to be the casual fan because, like, I'm thinking, like, man, I wish I was there right now. I mean, what I'm seeing, and every race is always better in person than it is on TV, no matter who's
That's right.
covering it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, well, why would people be leaving right now? I mean, unless it's so big you can move from one place to another. But what did it? I didn't see it. Were they like headed to the parking lot, or did it?
They were
say-
outside. They were headed to the shuttle buses. Like they were
Yeah,
out. They were
gone.
outside
Yeah.
of the track.
Ooh.
Dang.
I mean, it was probably at least 700 to 800 people. Like it was a herd of
Ooh.
people, kind of just moving in two different directions outside of the stands.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's not. I didn't even hear what the attendance was for the weekend.
I didn't either.
I'll look it up, but
When NASCAR doesn't announce it, it's usually not a good sign.
yeah,
Yeah.
Do they even
Man.
announce that anymore?
they do.
No, I didn't
Daytona,
even know that.
they'll be like, "Oh, it's sold out." Bristol is sold out.
Right.
You can roughly tell.
They'll tell you when they come in live from a sold out,
Yeah.
whatever
What was the?
raceway.
Do we know what the TV viewership was for this past weekend?
No, but I know IndyCar killed it on their
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm. first. They had the highest viewing they've ever had outside of
Yeah.
500.
Gee, it's crazy how when you put things on a the main place.
Commercials.
Yeah,
You
I
get
watched both
viewers.
the IndyCar races this weekend and did really well. My dad watched too. I've even been to the St. Petersburg race twice in my life, and good race in person. But yeah,
Okay,
gotcha.
maybe we're getting somewhere. So Fox.
I'm seeing it peaked at 4,870,000 people.
It was an increase of 3 million people from so this year it was 4.132 million viewers. It is an increase of 3.31 million from last year.
And that's probably because of the change that they made with the course.
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
That got the eyes onto the TV. So, I mean, honest, good thing to think about. If you are a passionate racing fan and you like road course racing and you want to support it, a track to go to that's not sold out is COTA. And after what you've seen right there, be a good race to go to. So,
Well, I'll tell you, as a fan, I'd rather keep this and have some race in the Middle East somewhere, or Brazil, or honestly, you got a great race.
Yeah,
So,
I still
And
think
it's a great track too.
I do think it's at risk of getting cut, especially with Rockingham
Yeah.
on the list, and the potential of Wilkesboro becoming a points race in the future. I mean, unless NASCAR just wants to keep adding races to the schedule, but I don't think. I mean, you already have 36, 37 races on the docket. I don't know if they're going to add more.
which there's 8 road courses this year? 7 road courses this year?
7, I think. I think 7.
Mhm.
That's
7.
like too many, in my opinion. I love road course racing, but just
Yeah.
you got to have some kind of equal, and it just seems like that's a large proportion of the schedule. It
Yeah,
really
it is.
is. So,
I was even
Anyway.
telling Austin if they get rid of COTA, maybe they should bring back Road America, but we all know
Yes.
they probably won't do that.
Look,
no, they won't.
I will say I love them going to Road America, and especially from
Yeah.
a fan's perspective. That
Mhm.
place had over 100,000 people, or at least 100,000 people each time. It's like, what did the fans do wrong up there?
It's a great track too.
Yeah, and even, when Chase won, obviously, it's going to create a lot of hype. But even with the next gen in 2022, and it being less than admirable in road course races, you had a great battle with Chase and Reddick there. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have to move on from that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to combo these two because they're kind of related in a way, but not really.
A wombo
So we had
combo.
Larson have several issues in this race. So first he had I think they counted it at 32/33 seconds on pit road. Brett said they lost a lug, essentially, which kind of feels weird because there's only one freaking lug that's on the tire. I mean, come on, if that's the issue. But I also heard they told Larson to go, then wait, and then go again on the pit stop. So it may have also been a little bit of just communication error in regards to that too.
That's a rare error for that team too.
Yeah, it is.
It is, but it isn't, because I can think of last year they had several issues last year.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you talk about suspensions. We're going to get one with that one because
That's a big one.
That's 2 crewmen gone.
Yep. The one that calls the
Vacation.
shots. Yep. And you're going to have points, too, associated with that, 100%. And that's one that you're not going to be able to appeal at all. Or you could,
No.
but you ain't winning it.
Yeah.
So,
Never.
Even driving for Mystic.
it didn't work for Bowman last year.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we had some fantastic recoveries with, everybody's like, Chase Elliott, top 5. Thank the Lord, Chase Elliott's in the top 5. He got wrecked once, right? That was his main thing at the beginning of the race with Chastain. He was able to recover. All right, so you have another driver that drives for the Hendrick staple. Alex Bowman ended up finishing P8. Got that penalty where he essentially wasn't able to stop in the S's because he got forced out. So, and wasn't able to serve that penalty because they threw a caution. So that put him at the end of the longest line, essentially, the first car on the lead lap, on the last stage, essentially, and drove all the way back to P, and not a single word from Fox. Of course, they don't do much after the broadcast interviews anymore. I mean, they've really dropped the ball with that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they need to move it on like Fox Sports 1, like do, the post race on Fox Sports 1, that'd be fine, whatever.
Or even have
Yeah,
it
I agree.
streaming or something.
But
Yeah.
I seen more coverage from Front Stretch, the new staple, a really good new staple. I've seen more coverage about Bowman on there than I've ever seen from Fox. And I know this is me being a Bowman fan, sure, but it's kind of ridiculous when you got, a driver that makes a comeback like that. But if you place that name with like Kyle Larson, you wouldn't hear the end of it. Be like, oh my gosh, Kyle Larson is like the second coming of Dale Earnhardt Sr. and
Mm-hmm.
Bill Elliott, and just combine all the legends together. And also, how the heck does Fox cut off on the broadcast when Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell are fighting for the lead? They come on the stretch, and it's 15 seconds of nothing. You don't see nothing. Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick, silence, nothing on the broadcast.
I might have been at work at that time, but are you talking about, did they go to commercial and it was a side-by-side, or?
No, it was live broadcast.
Oh.
Nothing, no audio, which you could hear, like, you can hear someone's their mic cut off.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Harvick or Bell, but obviously someone was getting chewed out at the TV studio. But you have a race for the lead, and it's cut off for 15 seconds, and there's just nothing, just a void of nothing.
Two things on my end. I will say, I'll back you up. I mean, I'm not necessarily like a diehard Bowman fan, but I will say the attacks against him are complete bull crap. I mean, he's a fantastic driver. I mean, and especially when, I mean, I get it. You've got some big names like Larson and Elliott, but
and Byron.
Yeah,
I mean,
Byron.
honestly.
But honestly, you look at the consistency with Bowman before he got hurt. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago? Leading the
first time,
leading the points. He got an early win in 2022 at Vegas. 4 wins in 2021. Like, you don't win 4 Cup races in a year if you're a bad driver. Leading the points before he got hurt. I mean, coming back, he had a little bit of a flukish kind of year. But so did Elliott that year. Because they both got hurt. And then 2024 last year, they both have really good years. So, I like I said, I don't really feel it because I'm not a huge Bowman fan, but, I mean, got to call a peg too. Like, he's a good driver. He doesn't deserve all the backlash he gets.
Brett, what do you think from your perspective being an RCR fan, seeing the Hendrick favoritism towards like Larson and Elliott? How does that make you feel?
I'm also a Larson fan, but I try not to think about it. I mean, I know RCR gets a lot of hate because of Austin driving and all that, and I was a little upset with it about too. And I mean, what Cole said about the interviews, I was waiting to see Kyle Busch get interviewed. They never interviewed him. I was wanting to see. I purposely kept my TV on instead of making a sandwich because I was hoping to see him get interviewed. He didn't even get interviewed, so I went over to YouTube, no interviews, and he still didn't see it. So I was really disappointed about that.
And also, Bowman is, out of all the Hendrick guys, I'll just say it, he is the friendliest with the fans. I'd put Byron at second. And look, I love Kyle Larson, and I get him and Elliott, they get kind of bombarded, so they got to sign quick. And they do a lot of signatures for the fans, for sure. But when it comes to true fan interaction, Bowman's the best that Hendrick has.
I think that just kind of speaks to the characterism of, the way that he came into the sport. Because he wasn't, best ride.
No.
Larson had Chip Ganassi, which wasn't top tier equipment given, but Alex Bowman was driving like cars for like nobody.
Tommy Baldwin, BK.
Yeah. So I understand that it's not even me just saying this as a Bowman fan, just being like, hey, the favoritism for Hendrick or whatever. It's not even that. It's just, if you got a clear storyline like that from Fox's side, I don't see why you don't jump on it. That's more of my issue with it than anything.
Well, and I hate it for Fox too, because like I said, as a fan, I want to see all aspects of the sport thrive. And I thought Fox had got a little bit better at Atlanta last week. I mean, I always try to be fair. I thought they had gotten better. And especially, I love that they're doing side by sides during the commercials now. I think it helps. But I hate that there has to be so many commercials. I also get it because that's where a lot of the money comes from is TV, right? But I don't mind the commercials as much as if I'm seeing the race side by side, right? But yeah, it was tough for them this week, especially with the Bowman thing, because I thought they were maybe starting to turn a corner a little bit, but
That's my favorite thing about the CW broadcast is they interview the top 10, at
Yes.
least top 5. They interview the top 5, top 10 drivers, and
well, yeah, I think Fox. It seems like they try to pride themselves on pre-race coverage. With like the grid walk with Michael Waltrip and all the stuff with Boyer and Chris Myers, but you don't get much post race. As a fan, personally, I mean, if in a perfect world, you get a lot of pre race and a lot of post race. But if I had to choose, start the race at the opening ceremonies and then give me all the post race. Personally,
I agree with that statement too.
All right, Austin, if you don't have anything to say about that, we'll go ahead and move on. I know, it's just, I don't know, I just felt like I had to get that off my chest.
I understand.
You know how it is. You know how it is being a Logano fan. No love.
I mean, my guy's the favorite at Penske, but
Yeah, I mean, honestly, maybe. I mean, Blaney is really close, but he doesn't got the championships to back it
it
up.
definitely ain't Cindric.
No, not now. Which is weird, because that's kind of like out of characteristic for Cindric, because Cindric's a very chill guy every time I've met him, so he must have just been really pissed off at Ty Dillon. But, so for the Phoenix race, we have a couple of decent starts. You got Garrett Smithley getting back in the 14 car after he actually stepped out of the ride so Hocevar could race for COTA, which turned out to be kind of,
this is
really,
Xfinity. This is Xfinity Phoenix.
Yeah, it is. So, SS green light. So, we'll see what Smithley can do at Phoenix. You got Alex Bowman in the 17 making his first start. I think he's doing a couple of races this year, and it's at his home track because he's from Arizona. So kind of worked out really well for him. Wish him the best. Same thing with Eric Almirola in the 19 car coming back for JGR. And then we got number 70, Thomas Zita. I don't know, for Coke Family.
Unziata or something.
Something like that.
Like,
yeah.
we're not ever going to you for how to pronounce a name.
No.
Yeah,
not
man.
after.
Yeah, not after.
Not after you slaughtered the legend. And then number 91, Josh Bilicki for DFM Racing. I think that's Bilicki's first start this year, so
Got that Blicky.
be very interested to see. And then the only driver that's an open driver is the returning. Well, it's the first time that she's there, but first time a female's been back in the Cup schedule since Danica Patrick. Taking over for BJ, Catherine Ledge, I believe how you pronounce it.
Catherine Leg.
Leg?
What is
That's a
her
weird way to spell
background,
leg.
like racing wise? I'm not sure.
I got you.
She's run the Indy 5. Sorry, but she's
5 times, I think.
5 times. She's big big into the IMSA, which is the International Motorsports Association. She's run the Rolex 24 since 2015. I think she's won the Rolex 24. I think twice.
Oh wow.
Twice in GTD class. She's run a lot with Michael Shank Racing with that for the IMSA. She's also a former IndyCar driver.
She's got 4 victories in sports car racing in general.
Yeah.
She's racing the Chili Bowl this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she did.
On dirt?
I don't think she made the main, but she was most definitely racing. So
Yeah.
she's a racer, 100%.
She's a really great person in person. I've had a friend that works for B&W, and he's met her and said she's a great person with the fans, and she's really good on her socials about talking to them and keeping up with them.
Well, let me
cool.
ask y'all, because I don't know much about her, but y'all seem like y'all got some good research. Let me just ask y'all this. is she the most talented woman race car driver in Cup that we've seen? And
She's 44 years old. I will give you that
Yeah.
reference. So she is a veteran.
because Danica, I think, had 2 wins, but if she's got 4 IMSA wins, and did you say any IndyCar wins or?
It's just sports car racing wins.
I gotcha.
So
Huh.
She's run the 500 a lot and been pretty close each time. A couple times she's been close, just, fuel, I think, was one of the problems, and then
Yeah.
blew a tire, and can't be doing that at Indy.
I think she had the fastest lap that a female's ever qualified.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think she
in
earned that
Indy.
last 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's talented. Don't get me wrong, but
I wonder why Phoenix, though.
that's what I was about to lead
Yeah.
into.
I was
Is
thinking too.
I think the reason she has experience at Daytona, obviously, but
Mhm.
you know BJ was going to drive Daytona. I mean, so you would expect maybe her to make her debut, maybe like July Daytona race or something like that. Phoenix is a hard track to jump on and expect to perform really well in a car that's, the slowest car most of the time in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
One, and if you ever race Phoenix, even just like on a video game, not even iRacing, but just a video game, it is so hard, especially with the, like, getting it tuning your car to where, like, it's got good drive off.
Yeah.
I mean, so tough.
I struggle with that track all the time in Heat 5. I can qualify
Yeah.
kind of good, and then during the race, it's like, did we get the wrong car? Did we pull we in a backup car or something? I mean,
Yeah.
I know she
I'll
said on her social, she said she was running a lot of practice on iRacing, but so
That can only
I
do
know
so
it's pretty-
much.
yeah, that's what So
Austin, what's your overall thoughts on this?
On Catherine Racing,
Yes,
I'm excited to see how she does. I hope she does
Mhm.
well.
we need a successful woman in the sport. We
It doesn't
really
take
do.
much to do better than Danica. For being honest, in the
or
Cup
Haley
Series,
Deegan in that point.
or Haley Deegan. Yeah,
Well, Haley did well, and she had some promise in the K&N East. Her biggest
Yeah.
thing, she got out of her biggest mistake was getting out of the Toyota pipeline.
Yeah, and
She
that's
moved up
coming
too
from a
quick.
Haley Deegan fan too. So.
Yeah,
but I'm interested to see how she does. I think Phoenix is an interesting choice, like you guys said, because
Mhm.
it's not a prestigious track per se for NASCAR. I would
No.
understand like Daytona. I'd understand like the Coke 600. I'd understand
Indianapolis.
Indy, even with the Brickyard. But we'll see. Hope she does well.
Might be a thing where they know there was no competition going into it, so they didn't have to race their way in.
Yeah.
And it might be I'd be interested to see like who the sponsor is. Maybe they're based out in Arizona.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I seen that they posted who the sponsor was today.
Yeah, it's
So you could look it up, but
yeah.
I'm interested to see Phoenix and how it's going to go, and that kind of leads us into our four-wide segment, and we're going to have Austin combine the history and the layout of the track together. So,
Yeah. So these tie in really well, and it gives me a good segue to Blake to talk about the tires. But Phoenix Raceway, formerly known as ISM Raceway, has gone under a lot of changes over the years. I didn't realize how many changes this track has gone under
Mhm.
since its inception in 1964. But obviously, the biggest one is the front stretch used to be the back stretch, and the back stretch used to be the front stretch.
Kind of like Darlington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was originally created in the 60s to have the ability to run a road course that ran in both the exterior outside of the track and then within the track itself. That was for IndyCar. But today, it is known as a 1-mile racetrack, but it was created in 1964 with the intention of being the western home for IndyCar, ironically enough. Didn't know that until I started doing some digging. The first race ever held there was in the Cup Series was 1984, I believe. No, 1988. Sorry, 1988 was the first ever Cup race, and that was won by the legend out on Kawicki. But now, for NASCAR, it gets 2 races a year. A spring race. It's also home to NASCAR Cup Series Championship in November after they made the switch. In 2011, the track really underwent some changes. The banking was implemented. It included 11-degree banking in turn 1 and 2, and then 10 to 11-degree banking in the apex of the dogleg, which is the most fun part about Phoenix, which I'll get to, and 9-degree banking in turns 3 and 4. The dogleg curve was also pushed out 95 feet, and the radius of the dogleg was tightened. The front stretch was also widened, and they reconfigured pit road. So the most noticeable feature of the track is the dogleg, right? That is the most obvious feature of this track. And what you will notice this weekend is as soon as that green flag drops, you're seeing 4, 5, 6 wide almost to the interior wall of the dogleg. Why do they use the apron of the dogleg so much? Well, it's simple geometry, right? The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So what they will do is they'll cross the green flag, they'll dip down as low as they can onto the dogleg, and then they will rejoin the track a few hundred feet before diving into turns 1 and 2 that are at a really flat 11-degree banking. When the tires are fresh, what you'll notice is it's going to be a lot easier for them to get onto the apron of turns 1 and 2. It's going to be a lot easier for them to get on that banking of the turn to get a better run and a better exit onto the backstretch. Then the drivers will go down the 500-yard backstretch before having to brake harder into a sharper turn, the set of turns, turns 3 and 4, with only 9-degree banking. Another interesting feature about this track, pit road is on the backstretch. So the leftover of what used to be the old format of this track, the pits stretch down the backstretch into turns 3 and 4, and they exit basically into the dogleg. Another thing that when I was studying this, what driver, this is a question for you guys, what driver basically holds every record for this track?
I'd say Harvick.
Harvick was very legendary there. I mean, even Harvick, they threw it to Harvick the other day and were like, "Hey, this is a track you're really good at, Harvick."
It is Harvick. Harvick had 9 wins at Phoenix,
Wow.
18 top 5s, 26 top 10s, 33 top 20s, and has the most laps led at 1,595 laps at Phoenix. That's the equivalent to 5 full races at Phoenix.
Yeah. What a resume to have there.
I know, right? It's just incredible. And you think about he's seen this track evolve too, because he drove there in the early 2000s, and then drove it when they reconfigured it as well. It's it's really cool. But Phoenix, I think, is by far one of the most interesting tracks we have on the Cup circuit. There really is no other track like Phoenix. I mean, you think Pocono is unique. It is. But Phoenix, it's just a different breed, and there's a reason why this track is the home to the championship race, and it's because you don't luck into a win at Phoenix. It is skill. For similarities, the best I can give is Richmond and New Hampshire. Those are the ones that I think of in similarities, and that's basically because they're both mile tracks and their turns share some similarities in banking. And so what I've noticed is typically drivers that do well at Richmond and New Hampshire, those guys do well at Phoenix as well. I think of Christopher Bell. He's got a chance to three-peat this week. I think seriously he's got a chance to do it because he does good at New Hampshire. He does good at Richmond. He does good at these tracks where it's difficult, and he usually runs well at Phoenix as well. Not to get too much into our pick segment later, but before I segue to Blake, I wanted to mention this track has not had a repave in And with that, I'll hand it over to
Goodness.
Blake to talk about how tire wear is going to play a factor this coming week.
Boys, do we have something interesting coming up with the tires this week? So the Cup Series is going to have the prime tires, and we got the option tires back for this week.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I mean, it makes sense because, I mean, if it's like Richmond, I mean, might as well just
yeah.
mix it up.
So,
Wow.
so let me give y'all some details here. So the prime tires, so for maybe you're a new fan, not quite familiar with the term, so the prime tires are just going to be the regular tires that they would have brought. All right, that's basically just your normal tires they would have brought. To give you a reference of how these tires will probably race, they were used at Iowa last year, which was a great race. Iowa, very abrasive track in the center of the tracks on the back stretch and the front stretch, but it had new pavement in the corners. Tires were still a factor. North Wilkesboro was a repave, so really hard to see how the tires wear, even when they had 900 horsepower. To get tire wear on a repave was almost non-existent. So that's a little bit of a hard to tell on that one. Phoenix race, championship race, and then the second Richmond race last season, which had a lot of fall off at Richmond, just the prime tires did. But now these option tires, the prime tires are going to last a lot longer. You'll have a little bit of a slower start, but with the prime tires, the tires will be able to last. What the strategy with these option tires are is that you get 2 sets for the whole race, and you can use them at any time you want. And you go really, really quick. You are super fast. Assuming nobody else takes them, you will leapfrog the field, like Suarez did at Richmond last year. However, the fall off is drastic. And if you have a long green flag run, you will pay the penalty with these tires. So I'll give you a great example of how this could play out. Say you've got a mid-race caution. Nobody has used their option tires because they want to save them to the end. You might have some gamblers say somebody, they just know they ain't got the speed. Somebody in 15th to 20th might put some option tires on and try to leapfrog the field, get some track position, hope for a caution, and that can help make their day a lot better. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll work. I think my prediction is that they'll try to save them until the last restarts, to the last part of the race. But don't be surprised if you see some mid at best teams try to take a gamble and use their tires to try to get some track position. I love this move. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Goodyear is trying their best to bring some softer tires that you can start out quick, but on how you drive the car is going to handle. So we've got that, and like I said, you got 2 sets. Use them wisely.
I will add, in case anybody that listens is familiar with Formula One, the option tires are very similar to the different tire structures that Formula One has. The regular tire would be the hards for Formula One. Not a great amount of speed at first, but you're going to get that. Those tires are going to last you if you take care of them. And then the option tires for NASCAR would be equivalent to the softs. Those are going to give you great speed right off the bat, but they're not going to give you they're not going to be good for a long run. So that's kind of if kind of overlapping series. That's how it works.
Or I think about it like this: if you've got about 20 laps left in the stage, you're running 20th. Why not try to put them on if you know that your car ain't going to do well? Try to get some stage points. So There's a lot of different ways that this could play out. Like I said, my prediction: everybody's going to try to save them to the end if they can. But if you've got a bad car, put them on and see what you can do.
Probably the only thing that was going to be really is if you're having to stop on green to get those tires, that's going to burn you up. I mean, you're going to pretty much be waiting for a caution. and you don't know if that caution's coming. So you're really having to make that decision whenever that last caution comes out, even if it's the stage. Well, obviously, if it's the start of the stage, you're going to sit on them.
Yeah.
I would say.
So essentially, what this does for the racing is you've got a chess game with the tires.
That's the crew chiefs.
Yeah.
That's where the crew chiefs come in. That's where the team comes in. This is not just driver sport.
Yep.
This is a universal sport when it comes to engineers, crew chiefs, tire changers. I mean, everybody. I mean, you seen what happened to Larson last week because of one mistake. One mistake could be just one great decision that puts you up front. I mean, think of Logano putting the tires on at North Wilkesboro when he did. That pretty much sealed the deal for him. I know that he was really good at North Wilkesboro, though. So, but hang on,
I
Blake.
got you.
What's one thing?
No, you're good.
I've been trying to say this, and so the option tires, they are showcased with red lettering around Goodyear. That's how you know on the track that they have the option tires. The other tires, the prime ones, are just the standard yellow. So, all right, go ahead.
Looks like the temperature for the race on Sunday, the high is going to be 74. So, I'd say with Arizona heat, your track temperature should be around probably 100. So that should help the tire fall off a little bit. I'd like to see the temperature, ideally with this tire, be about 80. But I don't think the weather's going to hurt it. So I think it'll give it a slight advantage on the fall off on the tires in general.
This is the normal time of year we race at Phoenix too.
Yeah.
It's usually the fourth race of the year, second week in March. It's usually how it goes. So I think the drivers will appreciate a cooler day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially after last week at COTA. Mercy.
Especially with Brad
Keselowski.
Yeah.
So Blake, my big question is, will they need the wets?
Is it going right?
ARCA boys might on Friday night. I will say there is about a 45% chance of rain on Friday, but Saturday into Sunday we got clear skies.
So we ain't gonna have to go boat racing.
Yeah, you ain't gonna have to go boat racing. Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Hey,
What? Cole, you forgot to mention ARCA. Come on, man.
Man, talk about a forgettable thing to talk about. I mean, this podcast is already 2 hours long. We included ARCA, man. We'd be way into 3 hours. I'll make mine short and sweet this week. So the fan experience at Phoenix, it's a top class facility. They've invested so much money in that racetrack. There's a reason why it's hosts, not just because the track is amazing. It's also the fan atmosphere and all the stuff that they put on at that racetrack is fantastic. It is a racetrack you have to go to if you're wanting to make a list. Me and Blake's talked about it the last few years, trying to make the championship race work because we want to go down there and experience it. And on top of that, I actually work with someone that lives in that area, and the tickets there are fairly cheap for family packages because he has like a family of like 8. He has a lot of kids.
wow.
So
Bless him.
Yeah.
that would be a track that I most definitely would consider going, especially if I live on the West Coast. I'd probably put that in my top 3 at least, probably top 2.
IndyCar's racing there this year too.
So
Nice.
I also will say with the banking, if you're at the race, just watch that. Even if you're watching on TV, if Fox is able, to be able to see it, you never know. I mean, think about like how Daytona and Atlanta's been with their banking. Whenever they hit that groove to go down, there's some drivers, when they hit that thing, they instantly turn a 180. I mean, they're wrecking. But then you have drivers full on, not letting off the gas, going straight on that banking and trying to make passes into that turn. Talk about a phenomenal feeling. I mean, that's what makes it like Talladega-esque in a way, in regards to like the unique characteristic of it.
Cole, can I ask a question? Mainly to you, since you're the expert of like fans and stuff and fan experience. That's your expertise. Do you think Phoenix would be served better as a once a year race since it is the championship track? Do you think it would be served better to race there once a year, or do you think it's worth having on the calendar twice?
I honestly, from my side of it, anytime I see Phoenix, I get happy about it because it's a really good racetrack. And like if I seen Richmond on, the race schedule for 2 races, I'd be like, I understand why they got rid of the second Richmond race, but it's just like there's no unique characteristics to the track to me. It's a very much old school track, and I know Blake's opinion about Richmond. And I was there for the race last year. It was a great race, but you take away that option tire, I mean, that race would have been dull as crap.
You don't want double hitter Pocono back in the COVID era?
No. But then
No,
you had Michigan with Harvick winning those both races. Michigan was kind of dull. I mean, back then to me.
It was.
Yeah.
And that's maybe an opinion for, some people love Michigan. I get it, but
I don't know. It's just a thought I had because, Homestead used to be the only time they raced at Homestead was for the championship race. And so, I don't know. I just wonder. I agree. Phoenix is a great track. I think it does deserve twice. But I'd be interested to see them run a schedule where drivers don't get a practice round for the championship earlier in the year.
I think that the main factor with it is they don't have a lot of West Coast tracks. So going to that facility being the best facility on the West Coast, I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, most people that I've ever talked that's been to the racetracks talk so highly of it and recommended for people to go. I mean,
we had somebody at the Clash said that they went out there. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I
yeah.
did.
So the guy was like talking really highly of Phoenix, and I just hate. And I'll just be honest. I hate that a lot of the NASCAR industry hates on this track because it's, for one, like, say you've got some potential fans in the Phoenix area, and I hear your big names bashing the track. Why would I go? I mean, and also, like, say what you want, the place darn well near about sells out every race. So, I mean, even if the racing is mid, if you've got a good fan experience, that covers up for a lot of it. And they bash the racing. I mean, I heard Jamie McMurray say that they haven't had a good race since like 1988 or 1989. I disagree. I mean, now don't get me wrong. Are you going to have the best racing in NASCAR there? I don't think so. But it is not as bad as what everybody makes it out to be.
I mean, last year's championship race was interesting because you had Logano trying to hold off Blaney for the last 20 laps.
Yeah,
that was good racing.
Great.
Even the spring race last year, you had a lot of side-by-side races, especially with the new, and I mean it's been the way since 2018, but like the way that you could just dive bomb into turn 1, you've got multiple racing lanes and turns 1 and 2, like, what more do you want?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's people that complain about it are the people that are the homesteaders. That's 90% of the people that complain is that
Definitely then.
Homestead doesn't have the final race of the championship, and the reason that it doesn't is because they can't put butts in seats.
No, and it's like, I mean, are you going to have a wreck every lap? No, but to me, you've got good competitive green flag racing out there, and honestly, it's not a crapshoot. So that's what I love about it.
So, a lot of hate for Phoenix, but I honestly have no animosity towards Phoenix. I think it's probably, I mean, I'm thinking, you think Daytona, especially now Atlanta, Talladega, those are tracks that you want to visit, but I would say it's in my top 7 for sure. I think it makes it.
That's fair.
Especially, I mean, even the year that Blaney won the championship, you remember that he had to, he knocked, I think it was Chastain. He knocked Chastain trying to pass him. It was hard racing to the end of the race. So, I don't get the hate. The fan experience I've always heard is lovely there. NASCAR in general does a great job with fan experiences in general. But if you're near that track, that's one that I would highly recommend you go to.
I've never been to a race out there, but when I went to go visit a friend back in 2021, I got to, we rode by and I saw the track. It's nice. Lots of great campgrounds, and it's called Phoenix, right? But it's really in Avondale, Arizona, so it's about, let's say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes south of Phoenix. And you've got, all that's there is the racetrack. So you've got plenty of room to get out for parking, lots of things to do, and Phoenix is a really fun town also.
It's also not in the middle of July.
No.
Either.
Yeah.
Both the fall race and the spring race are at the perfect time for it. It's like weather's perfect.
They sure are.
All right, boys, we're going to move to the spicy take segment. This will be pretty quick. I think Kent was the first one to hit a spicy take this year. He said that Kyle Busch proved that he was not an absolute dumpster fire. Kent got it right. Blake said Connor was going to get a top 10 with the Cup start, and he didn't, and he honestly could have. Suarez didn't take him out. His own teammate didn't take him out when he spun out. So,
yeah.
Austin said there was going to be no full course caution.
There were a few.
I don't know about there was a few.
Mm-hmm.
It was close. Not really. Also, I would like to point out that Josh Berry and Ty Gibbs have less points than Jimmy Johnson does right now, and Jimmy Johnson's only drove one race.
God.
So, shout out to Jimmy Johnson.
Come on, Daniel.
Get it together, Suarez.
And then Noah G, my prediction of winning wildly. It didn't happen, but hey, he got a top 10 finish. So maybe I'm pushing that Noah magic down the line. So, all right, Austin, let's hear your spicy take for the Cup or Xfinity race.
Bell three-peats. He won there last year, like in the spring race. So
he's got good momentum, 100%.
Yeah, I think he's riding a wave, and I say three-peats.
I know someone that has something to say about that, and we'll talk about it when we get to the picks segment, because I know that this name will be mentioned when it comes to Phoenix. Blake, what is your spicy take for the week?
Oh, got a couple. I'm trying to narrow it down. I will say that Chase Briscoe gets out of the hole and wins his way into the playoffs. And the reason I say that, spring 2022, if he could win in a Haas car, how much more could he win in a Gibbs car?
He's got the equipment to do it. That's most definitely
fair point.
Toyota in general struggles at Phoenix for the most part, though.
I don't know if I'll pick him, but that's my hot take.
I got you. All right, what about you, Brett? Do you have any spicy takes that you want to formulate at all?
No, I'm just hoping about three-peats.
Okay, well, so you're just going to double down on what Austin's saying?
Yeah.
How does Catherine Legg do?
I think top 30. I think that's...
Is that spicy enough?
No, I'm not saying it's spicy. You just asked.
I got you.
So.
I'd say maybe, I'd give her a little bit of credit. I'd maybe say maybe top 25, maybe top 20 maybe.
Well, there's your spicy take
top
then.
20 is a lot.
Yeah,
but...
we'll say top 25. That's a spicy take.
That's a spicy take. I like that. I was thinking about doing that, but...
Come on, Catherine, make it happen.
Come on.
Yeah.
We're rooting for you.
I think
You heard it
that
here first.
I think Kyle Busch is going to put me into the spicy take. I think Kyle Busch, heck, I say he wins the race.
Man.
Wow. Let's go.
I mean, it's going to be hard. Kyle Busch. For the people that don't know the origin story of that, me and Blake were at a race, and there was this guy that he put a bet with his friends, and he picked Kyle Busch, and he told us, he's like, I don't even know who the Kyle Busch is, but I put money on him, and
well,
go ahead, Blake.
This was back when Darlington had their backstretch seats back in 2021 Southern 500. Great race, but these college students were the epitome. I mean, of trying to be country when you just know they weren't NASCAR fans. I mean, they tried to have like the Dale gear on, the Rainbow Warrior Gordon stuff on, and the mullets, and the
got the jorts,
cut off Mark Martin,
cut
off Mark Martin shirt. But you could just tell they weren't legit NASCAR fans. I'm glad they were there.
Oh, it's entertaining to watch them. 100%.
I love you. Look, if you've never been to a race, go to a race. But you could just tell they weren't the sophisticated fan for sure.
They were the 15 kind of fan. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But anytime Kyle would come across the track, it didn't matter where he was. He'd be like, Kyle Busch, let's go, Kyle Busch. It just sent me and Blake. That was a fantastic race.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I think if Kyle Busch would have won that race.
I know.
Hey, that's where the original wall riding came with Larson trying to catch down, didn't he?
I remember
yeah,
that.
forgot about
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, last lap.
Forgot about that.
He just set that thing.
So Larson opened the door that Chastain walked through, and the one that he locked shut, that Bell couldn't go through.
Wait.
Oh, boy.
I did
All right,
try that in
Austin.
NASCAR Heat 5 the other day. I went from being 10th to 32nd with the DNS.
I love it. All right, Austin, we'll throw it to you.
All right, it's time for our pick'em segment that we love to do. No trucks last week. No trucks this week. Big sad.
No trucks.
No trucks. But we will have trucks next week
Yes.
at Las Vegas.
Love the trucks.
But this past week at COTA, your boy Austin finished on top, correctly predicting the winner of the race as well with Connor Zilisch. Kent came in second. He broke his streak of finishing last for the first two races
In the
of the year.
Xfinity Series.
In the Xfinity Series. Picking William Byron came in P2. P3, we have Cole, who had Sam Mayer, who also finished P3. So literally, our order P1, P2, P3 is how our drivers finished. And then there's Blake, who had Ross Chastain, who finished P8. So all of our drivers finished in the top 10, which I thought was really impressive. And then Cole locked in his championship prediction pick for the playoffs, Connor Zilisch. Zilisch is in the playoffs, and the only one who doesn't have their pick locked in is me with Allgaier. But I have a feeling that will soon change now that we're moving to short tracks and mile and a halfs, his bread and butter.
Come on, little Gator.
Yeah, a little Gator. So, Blake, you have first pick this weekend. You cannot pick Austin Hill. The other two drivers you have are
Not racing.
So only Austin Hill is off limits to you. I think you know what the obvious pick is.
Yeah. I'm between Bowman. Allgaier's the obvious option, but with Bowman in there, I think I might want to try to save all. Yeah, give me Alex Bowman.
All right. Kent, since he's not here, he did text me his preferred picks for the Xfinity, so I have those.
Okay, I'm glad
down.
he did. I texted him, and I was like trying to make sure that I got him, but I'm glad you did.
Yep. All right, Cole, you are up next. You have a little bit more limited. You cannot pick Creed. You can't pick Jeb Burton, and you can't pick Sam Mayer.
So who did Kent pick?
You pick next.
Do I?
Yeah,
Nice.
You finished third last week.
You know what? I'm going to give him Allgaier. If he has Allgaier on his list, I'm going to take Jesse Love.
That's a good pick.
Wow.
Good momentum this year, and he's really good at Phoenix.
All right, let me make sure Kent's order. Yep. Little Gator is top of Kent's list. Allgaier always does well here. And then for me, my pick is pretty easy. Give me Sheldon Creed.
Sheldon Creed gets some win.
I hope so. But, I mean, if anything, he's going to get a top 5 here.
Top 2.
Top 2. He runs well every time. And we also, Brett, we like to do a guest pick. Xfinity racing, you think you can pick anybody in the field. Who do you think is winning the Xfinity race?
And you can pick someone that we picked as well.
I'm going to go with Jesse Love.
Jesse Love. All right.
We love Jesse Love.
Jesse Love.
So even if Kent wins, I'll be happy because that means my playoff prediction is locked in. Regular season standings for our Xfinity competition. I am in the lead with 10 points. Cole has 8. Blake has 7. And Kent in his usual spot with 5 points. So it's okay, though. We're past the... We're getting into some tracks that are easier to predict.
For sure.
Going into Cup, obviously we don't pick those today. We will pick those Saturday after qualifying, but to give you an update, I finished first in this one as well. I picked Reddick last week, who finished P3. Blake came in second with SVG finishing P6. Cole came in third with Chastain finishing P12. And then Kent at the bottom with Larson finishing P32. So, tough start.
Yeah.
Tough start for Kent, but it's a long season. Championship predictions, nothing has changed. Mine is the only one that is locked in, as Bell has won the last 2 races. But even though we don't pick, we like to talk about who we think our favorite driver is going to be going into this weekend. And since Kent is not here. I don't know who Kent's favorite driver is going into this weekend. So
Probably
I will
Byron.
Yeah.
probably
honestly.
Byron.
Yeah.
But I'll start with Cole. Cole, who is on your radar this weekend?
I think the obvious pick would be Ryan Blaney. Penske's really good at this track, and Blaney, I mean, you think the championship last year, championship winning year the year before. I think I looked it up on Racing Reference. His average finish is like second for the last, yeah.
Wow.
In 6 races, his average finish is second.
Wow.
Goodness.
I feel like he is the guy. He is the dude. If he passed to me in second, I would take him, but I can't because
Yeah.
I picked him earlier this year.
Yeah.
So I probably pick Logano, being another Penske driver.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, Penske does do well here. Usually they don't do as well in the spring. Usually it's the fall when they turn it on, but I don't know.
Exactly.
We'll see. Blake, you're next. Who are you looking at this week?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the obvious with Penske, I mean, I am looking at, might surprise you a little bit, but I'm going to be going into the weekend trying to see how Ross Chastain is going to do. He won the 2023 championship race. Didn't win the championship, obviously, but won the race. Usually has some pretty bright times at Phoenix. So I think I'm going to be interested to see how he's running in practice and qualifying.
I think I know who Austin's going to say.
No, I'm not going to go with the obvious. I'm not going to go with the obvious. You know, someone I'm interested. I can't pick him, but Reddick. Reddick
Yeah.
is a guy to watch out for here. Always consistent. Always does well. I'm honestly going to say the same guy I said last week, Chris Buescher. I didn't end up picking him for COTA, but Buescher. He finished P2 last year in the spring race. He always seems to find a way to make it into the top 10 of a race, it seems.
He's a grinder. He really is.
Yeah.
He won't do jack for the first 2 stages, but I wonder if he's going to be turning into like the next Harvick in the sense
Yeah,
that he's
like,
the closer.
Where'd he come from?
Yeah, out of nowhere. RKO out of nowhere. But that's what I'm honestly looking at. Buescher and even Gibbs is someone worth looking at this week. I probably won't pick him.
He's got to break the streak eventually,
Eventually,
right? Like
yeah.
He's been terrible this year.
Yeah.
But he led over 50 laps last year here. So those are some guys I'm looking at. I mean, Buescher's someone I'm honestly considering. I doubt Bell will fall to me if he qualifies well, and I'm picking
I think
last.
Kent's picking Bell
I think he will
if he
too.
can. If he can.
Yeah,
I think he can.
he can. But Brett, who are you looking at this week for NASCAR? Who's someone? Remember, you can pick anybody.
That's your official pick, by the way. This ain't like a
Yes.
hypothetical. This is you. This is what you're picking. So
Give me Seabell.
All right,
okay.
Good pick.
that's a good pick. Repeat.
You know, it's nice to not have any limitations.
Yeah.
No.
It must be nice.
Yeah, just so our audience is aware, Kent cannot pick Hamlin, Logano, or Larson, which is tough for this week. Cole can't pick Cindric, Blaney, or Chastain. That's tough for this week. I can't pick Stenhouse, Cindric, or Reddick. Not as tough.
Nah,
I
that's
can't
not
pick
as
Reddick.
bad.
And Blake can't pick Briscoe, Brad K, or SVG. Not bad for Blake.
I'm probably in the best position out of everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kent's got the
Mhm.
obvious. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the odds of getting Bell to win 3 in a row, though, it's a little bit tougher.
hey, he can do it though.
He can
I
do
think
it,
he
obviously.
could. I really think he could.
looking at our regular season standings, Cole currently holds the lead with 9 points. Blake and I are tied for second with 8 points, and then Kent is last with 5 points.
He's got to break it. And I will mention this, and this will be it. This will be the end of the podcast. But Kent forgot to pick 1 week. 1 week last year. He forgot to pick before the green flag dropped. So therefore, he forfeited his pick, and therefore he only got 1 point that week. But ever since that week, he has been cursed.
Yeah.
I mean, he picked like Reddick at Dega, and Reddick flipped, and he picked Larson at Homestead or something, and Larson hit the wall and did all kind. He did Larson stuff.
He had what, like 8 consecutive weeks finishing last.
Yes.
Like, just brutal. Like, he was, like, out of the competition with, like, 3 races left in the playoffs. Like, it was awful.
I think for him to have won the championship, he would have had to. His driver would have had to win the overall. He'd have to win the race to get 14 points, and I would have had to finish like.
So, just for you kids out there, if you're ever in a NASCAR competition, always make your
That's
pick
right.
before the green flag drops. It's very essential to be able to win. All right. Lastly, Brett, thank you for being on today. It's been a pleasure. It's been nice getting to know you. And,
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And you're welcome to come back on our next road course race if we don't have anybody lined up.
Sign me up. I'm ready.
All right. Sounds good. Well, for all of you 2 listeners out there, I appreciate you listening. Our president is Ecuador's right here, so therefore I don't know if he'll be listening to the episode back or not. But anyways, it's been a pleasure. As always, this is the Ford Wide Podcast saying love racing and peace out.